Okay, so imagine this. You're scrolling online, right? And you see this image. Maybe it's like a crazy realistic portrait or like some otherworldly landscape. And it just stops you in your tracks.
Oh, yeah.
And then, boom, you find out it wasn't made by, a person with a paintbrush. It was made by AI.
Yeah.
And that's the rabbit hole we're diving into today, AI art. But we're going deeper, looking at it through this Ukrainian artist, Alex Buzunov. He's using this tech, this AI art, to respond to, well,
To the war.
exactly, the conflict in Ukraine.
And what's so fascinating to me is that he's not just reacting to it. It's not just about anger or protest. It's like he's using AI art as this way to express, like, the cultural side of things, the resilience.
Right.
It's about sharing a Ukrainian perspective that goes beyond, the headlines.
Yeah, and he talks about this in his blog, right?
He does. We've actually got some excerpts from it for this deep dive. He even sees it as like a way to kind of process the trauma of war, which I thought was really interesting.
Wow, that's heavy.
Yeah.
And it's not like slapping some filters on a photo, right? He's building these images from scratch.
Yeah, from the ground up, basically.
He's got this series. It's called, Sunflower Resistance.
Oh, I love that one.
Right. Even the title, there's going to be some powerful stuff there.
Absolutely. And that's what I think makes his work so interesting. He's taking this technology that, let's be honest, we usually associate with like memes or, those deep fakes. And he's using it to talk about something really profound, about what it means to be human, especially when you're living through something as awful as war.
It really is. It's like, I don't know, he's writing poetry, but with algorithms instead of words.
Yes, 100%.
We actually found this podcast, too, and the hosts were talking about Buzanov's work. They called him, get this, a digital Banksy.
I heard that. That's such a good analogy. I think it really gets at what's so different about AI art.
Right.
Like, think about Banksy. He was all about using stencils and spray paint, right? Taking these everyday things to make these really strong statements. And Buzunov is doing something similar, but with code,
Cool.
It's still about rebellion in a way.
Totally, totally. And that's where it gets really interesting for, anyone listening, really.
Oh, tell me more.
So Buzunov, he actually shares some of his process on his blog.
Really?
He talks about the prompts he uses, which are basically like the instructions you give the AI. So theoretically, you could be creating art right alongside him using the same tools.
Yeah.
It's kind of mind-blowing, right? It's like this door just swung wide open and anyone can walk through.
That IS, mind-blowing. And that's where it gets, I don't know, exciting and a little scary at the same time, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if anyone can make these hyper-realistic images, these images that can make you feel things just with a few clicks, how do you know what's real anymore?
Right.
How do we tell the difference between truth and, I don't know, a really good fake?
Yeah, it's like we've walked into this hall of mirrors.
Ooh, I like that.
And every reflection is suddenly up for debate. But before we spiral down that rabbit hole too far, let's actually look at what Buzunov is doing with these tools, specifically.
Okay, yeah, let's do that.
He's got this one piece that really got me thinking. And it's part of that sunflower resistance series we were talking about.
Okay, I'm intrigued.
So remember those sunflowers, right?
Yeah, yeah.
The sunflower resistance.
Those were powerful.
In this one piece, they're like huge, these towering figures, almost like guarding something.
Okay.
You can tell it's a battlefield, but it's not like, a normal one.
What do you mean?
It's like all distorted somehow and kind of dreamy looking.
Oh, interesting.
It's like the AI took all the feelings of war, like the chaos and everything,
Yeah.
and turned it into something you could actually see,
I feel like that's what makes his work so powerful, It just cuts through all the noise. Like,
Right.
we see news reports, we read articles, whatever, about the war.
Yeah.
But this, it goes right past all those defenses we put up.
It hits you in the gut.
Exactly. It makes you feel it.
And the podcast hosts, they said something similar, actually. They were saying that even when, like logically, that it's an image made by AI, it still gets to you emotionally.
That makes sense, though, right? We're visual creatures.
That's how our brains are wired.
Yeah, we look for meaning in patterns, even if those patterns were like arranged by an algorithm.
So we can't even trust our own eyes anymore.
And that's where that whole seeing is believing, well, it's not that simple anymore.
Right.
It makes you stop and question, well, everything, really.
Like what even is real?
Exactly. And how do you navigate a world where images can be both incredibly powerful and potentially, designed to mislead you?
Yeah, it's tricky. It's like we've all got to become detectives or something.
Huh.
But instead of fingerprints, we're looking for, like, pixelated clues.
Yeah.
The podcast host actually mentioned that there are these tells. Like, the AI might mess up the lighting or the textures are off.
Yeah, or hands.
Hand.
Apparently AI has a really hard time with human hands, getting them to look right.
Huh. Who knew?
But those little inconsistencies, they're important
Why is that?
because they can help us tell the difference between, like, a real image and one that's been, I don't know, messed with digitally.
Okay, that makes sense.
And this is the crazy part, the tech is changing so fast. What might be a dead giveaway today might be gone tomorrow.
So it's not enough to just learn the rules. You got to keep up with them, too.
Maybe exactly.
Which just feels kind of, I don't know, overwhelming.
Totally. So where do we even start, right? Like, how do we develop that kind of critical eye, so we're not constantly fooled?
Well, wait, that's the big question.
It starts with being curious, I think. Asking questions like, who made this image? What are they trying to say with it? And are they being upfront about how they made it?
It's almost like going back to basics, in a way.
Kinda, yeah. Because just because something looks real, it doesn't mean it is.
And that's true for everything online now, not just art made with AI.
100%. Don't trust, always verify, remember.
Right. But it's like on a whole other level now.
And I know it's a lot, especially with how much we see every day.
It's information overload.
Totally. But the podcast, they talked about something really important, actually, on a more positive note.
Oh, like what? So it's not all like doom and gloom then?
No, not at all. There's this whole other side to AI art, this huge potential, and we're just starting to figure it out.
Okay, so what's the good stuff then?
Well, the podcast, they were talking about how it can change storytelling.
Really?
Like, imagine creating entire worlds with AI.
Whoa.
Building characters, telling stories that, like, you couldn't even visualize before.
That's wild. It'd be like going from writing a screenplay to, like, directing the whole movie.
Exactly. And with AI, you've got these tools to make it so immersive visually.
It blow people's minds.
Right. But it goes even deeper than that.
Deeper.
It's not just about, cool special effects. AI art can really connect with us on this whole other level.
Okay.
It can make us think differently about, like, everything.
But think about a powerful photo.
Right.
Or a painting that makes you stop and think.
Yeah.
Now give that same power to AI.
Okay.
Suddenly you can raise awareness about all kinds of things.
Give a voice to people who are never heard, It's huge.
Yeah, that's true. It's like this technology is, I don't know, handing us this megaphone. But it's up to us to decide what we're going to say with it.
100%. And that's what I love about Buzunov's work. He's not just making pretty pictures. He's using it to, like, document what's happening.
Right.
To deal with trauma, to get people talking.
Yeah, it's more than just art,
Exactly. And that's the thing to remember. AI isn't replacing human creativity. It's just giving us new ways to express it.
New tools for the job.
Yes, new tools to tell our stories, to connect with each other, to make sense of, well, everything, really. And yeah, there are definitely some big questions we need to ask.
Oh, for sure.
Ethical stuff, We can't just ignore that.
Right, all right.
But there's also this feeling of, I don't know, wonder. Yeah, like we're on the edge of something totally new and amazing.
It's kind of like we're standing at the edge of, like, a vast jungle or something, right? We know there's a lot to discover, but it's also a little intimidating.
100%. But that's what makes it exciting, too.
Yeah, I feel that. So where does this leave us then? What's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all of this?
I think the biggest thing is to remember that AI art, it's a reflection of us.
Yeah.
It's a tool, sure, but it's also like a mirror.
A mirror.
Yeah, we're projecting ourselves onto it, all our hopes and fears and everything.
That's deep.
And as we're figuring all this out, as we go deeper into this world, we've got to be both critical and, I don't know, open-minded.
Like, question everything, but still be amazed by it.
Exactly. Don't just trust what you see, verify it.
Don't trust, always verify, classic.
But also, don't forget to let yourself be amazed by it all.
Yeah, that's important too. Don't lose that sense of wonder.
Exactly.
This was great. Thanks for taking this deep dive with me.
Anytime. This stuff is so interesting to talk about.
And to everyone listening, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those creative sparks flying. Because even in a world that's, like, obsessed with algorithms, it's the human stuff, the emotions, the creativity, that's what really makes art come alive.